Hey guys, we're out in Arizona in preparations for Speed Week 2025. We picked up a day, came a day early, went over to Frank Sloan's and helped work on their 4G63 modified Roadster, kind of give a day to those guys to help them in their Bonneville effort. And then we came up to the Goose Bar headquarters to work on the liner a bit. We had burned some lines off of it last year at Bonneville with a small fire and got those replaced today, and had some interesting finds on some bolt lengths going into the wastegates and had to fire up the lathe and fix some stuff. But this is now a 12 injector. It's got 12 ID injectors in it. We're gonna run methanol this year, which is a big weight off my shoulders because I'm just gonna cram some boost in it and go for it, because I've been pedaling around with this thing for a couple years now and not really getting what I want. So we're gonna head to a hub dyno on Monday, dyno the vehicle on methanol, and then see it in just a few weeks out at Bonneville. Also gonna work on Greg Waters' 369 Roadster today. They had the engine apart after the dry sump belt fell off of it, and put some bearings in it, fresh head gasket, a couple other small items on the 369 car in preparation for Bonneville. So we're gonna fire that up, pull the cams back out of it, retorque the head, check lash on a couple valves while we're at it, and have that thing ready to get suited up and head to Speed Week 2025. Yesterday we heat cycled the engine, so we got it up to temp. This morning it's cold, and we have to retorque the head because it's a copper head gasket. This particular engine is using a Mazworks fire ring head gasket, so it's got this big copper beryllium ring that sits in the deck of the block. The head is flat, and when you tighten it together, it just smashes that flat ring right into the deck surface of the head. But surrounding it is a copper head gasket. So we're gonna retorque the head, and what we're gonna do is loosen each fastener. So we'll loosen the fastener in the order of torque sequence, and we'll take the nut off. We'll clean all the engine oil off of it, and then we'll put the ARP Ultra Torque lube on the fastener and torque it back down. Then we'll move to the next fastener. So when you're retorquing a cylinder head, you don't loosen all the bolts. You loosen one at a time, and you put the Ultra Torque lube back on the fastener, and then you retorque the fastener. It's also important that you don't just grab your torque wrench and pull it to the target torque and call that retorquing the head. The amount of force it takes to get the fastener back in motion is well above the torque sequence, or well above the target torque. And I've seen some pretty strong dudes grab a wrench and just give it a big old click, and that is not what you're trying to do here, because you're trying to mitigate how much distortion is at that flange seal. And when you have something like this, where you have those solid rings that are now pushing up against the cylinder head, that's affecting the shape of the deck of the head. It's affecting the shape of the valve seats. It works, but you're smashing solid things together, or relatively solid things together. You could argue that the ring is stronger than the cylinder head at that point. But anyhow, we're gonna go through, retorque the cylinder head, we'll get our camshafts back in, timing belt back on, and be ready to head to Bonneville. So as I'm wrenching the cam back in the head after retorquing the cylinder head, we can go over what valve train is in this cylinder head. It is a SuperTech valve with a BC 0310 dual spring kit, and the camshafts are BC 276s. This car actually has a decent amount of BC stuff. It's a BC 90mm crank, BC 6300 HD rod with the ARP 625 rod bolt, and then the BC 276 cams. So when this thing's humming at, you know, over 8,000 RPM for a mile or whatever, that's just all these products really being put to the test, because a lot of us, especially with street cars, we never get to hold our stuff wide open for a mile, you know, or 2 or 3. So it's really a good testing ground for part durability. So pretty cool stuff. And if you notice the bright green oil, the Goose bar, we kind of needed a new oil supplier. So I had talked to Driven last year at SEMA about the project and how many cars are here and how much oil we go through. And they came on board as a, I wouldn't say sponsor, but they did give us a pretty awesome deal to start using their products. And that's that. If you read a little bit about American oil or oil in general throughout the globe, for whatever reason, the Pennsylvania crude has always been like the high level oil that you like to start off with. So some of the best oils that have been produced here in the States come out of that Pennsylvania crude, which is where the Driven brand is born out of. So we're down at Phoenix Speed Industries. They have a mainline hub dyno. We can use that to get the fuel dialed in. We went from ethanol fuel to methanol fuel. So we have M1 VP fuel in the car now, and we're gonna get the fuel curve dialed in and then add some boost and have a pretty good tune-up to go to Bonneville with. In case you don't know what the engine is, it's a Dart-based 2JZ with a 84mm Brian Crower crank, Brian Crower rods, and Manley pistons. Manley's been on board as a piston sponsor, and Brian's been helping with the rotating assembly, and Dart helped out on the block. So we get a lot of help on this car. There's a whole group of people around this car that make it possible, which is really cool. So I'd like to leave here with 13 or 1400 horsepower to the hub. So whatever boost level that takes to get there is what we're gonna aim at. So I'm, I think 4 pulls in, 1,070 to the hub, 35 pounds, which is not staggering numbers compared to what we're used to, but it is a fairly low compression engine. So there's that. I've got probably 4 degrees more timing that I would use on a regular streetcar Supra. That's 10-to-1 compression. So there's that. I'm going to put 5 more pounds of boost in it, see where that leads us. So as we crest over the 40 PSI mark, we'll see how much power it gains. I'm still under, I have 35 pounds of boost for 30 pounds of back pressure. So it's still under on back pressure. So I suppose it will probably eclipse that 1-to-1 ratio with another 5 pounds of boost. The hub dyno is awesome. Todd, those guys down there at Mainline really build a neat machine. So we are trying to balance 20 minutes between runs to do our best to have some air quality in the bay we're in, because it's not a dyno cell that's constantly exchanging air, but it's a nervous pressure because you're like down in this car and there's like nowhere to be. It's just small in there. So having a laptop on my lap, it was it's a little mind-boggling, but it's going good. So a few more pulls and we should get there. That was pretty successful. I moved up in 5 PSI increments, and when we started, it was like 900 and something horsepower, and I thought like, it's gonna be kind of hard to get there from here, but got some timing in it, about 20 degrees, and then just started adding boost, and it kept giving it up. So we crossed over 1-to-1 pressure ratio, about 46 PSI, about 47 PSI of back pressure. The thing goes to 9,500 with a bunch of pride, which is awesome because the first few gear splits are fairly large in the trans. So we need to come back to as much power as possible. It is fairly lazy. It doesn't crest 1,000 horsepower until almost 7,000 RPM. But when you look at the dyno sheet, like, it's pretty meaty once it's running. So I'll call today overall total success. The guys at Phoenix Speed Industries open up their place, allowed us to come here. You know, we can't put a 30-foot long car everywhere. So it was really, really awesome to be able to come get on a mainline and tune the thing in and feel like I'm ready to rip in a few weeks.